Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Porch Report, brought to you by the Hogs Radio Network, your strictly Nats podcast, where we get together and express our natitude, as the team would want us to say. Go over the week that passed, talk about the couple of series in the week coming up. Talk all about some of the hot topics of the team, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all of the above. Again, I am Kevin from the Ball Hogs, and joining me as always, John Wilkes. Wilkes, how are you?
What up? Good. How are you?
Good. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. Friday was relaxing. Saturday got in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Paying for it a little bit today.
Yeah. You always do the one on, one off weekend. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. I'm usually seems to be the case. I can't do the back-to-back,
right?
The double headers, essentially.
Yeah, those are tough.
Those don't happen anymore.
Well, I didn't mean for this to be a good of a segue as it was, but the one on, one off was kind of the way the Nationals weekend went. After now the rain delay on Friday, or the postponement, I should say, of the opening game with the Braves, set up a weekend, man, where if you want to. If you want to try and create a perfect Nationals weekend in your mind, that was this weekend. That was Saturday and Sunday. What I mean by that, of course, was the weather, at home, packed house both days, and you showcase Strasburg and Gio. On Saturday and Sunday. Does not get much better. That came to play on Saturday. It did not get much better. A 2-0 win for Strasburg, his 7th of the year, I believe. Now 7-1. And Gio, though, today took the loss at 3-2 after the game. Man, I'll tell you what, it started off pretty hot. I don't know if you saw this, John, but the Lombardozzi,
yes.
Bryce Harper back-to-back bombs to open the game.
Little did anyone know.
Yeah, at that point, we thought we were all going to be in for a show, for the Gio show, because man, if you gave him 2 runs at any point in the game, much less in the first inning, you're thinking good. Now Strasburg, I believe, is actually 6-1, so I take that back. But so he split a series with the Braves, a kind of a weird 2-game series because of the rain delay. But the story, though, overall, is that we've still taken 4 or 5 from them to open this to open the season. When you have a rival like that in your division, any way you slice it, 4 out of 5 is good. You want to win them all, of course. You want to win when Gio's pitching. When your stars are out there. But still today, kind of just one of those days where Tommy Hanson kind of got his stuff together after giving up those first few bombs, and kind of made it tough for the Nats. So I kind of tweeted that the Nats scored on their first 2 batters, or from their first 2 batters, and then never again as the Braves sort of pulled it out today. Jason Hayward had a big 2 RBI single. He had a good day. I know David Ross, their backup catcher, I think that's his name, right? David Ross. I know it's Ross. He had a good day at the plate. I believe he was either 2 for 2 or 3 for 3. So, couple of guys you wouldn't expect getting some big hits for them, especially with McCann out of the lineup again. But the Nats couldn't pull out a win today, and now are looking. When you talk about the week in review, man, this team's now lost 4 of 5. I mean, after getting swept by the Marlins in Miami, each game, relatively close. They lose each game by just a couple of runs, but man, it had that the Marlins own the Nationals feeling, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially going into it, that for whatever reason, whether the Marlins are good or bad, they always play well against the Nationals.
Yeah.
But to know that and then have them take 3 is kind of like
we did take 2 from them earlier in the year, so you thought maybe this is a different team, a different day, that kind of thing. But the pitching was there for Miami, and the timely hitting was lacking as it can sometimes do with this team, with this ball club. And Zambrano, Anibal Sanchez, and Josh Johnson all get wins, and all 3 Nats starters also took the losses. Jordan Zimmerman, Edwin Jackson, and Chin-Min Wong. Did you watch Chin-Min Wong a lot? I mean, it's not fair to right now obviously say did Davey make the right decision. Ultimately, I think we talked about this last week. Ultimately, we both agree that he did. But is this guy somebody that's going to be able to put the team in position to win more than he doesn't? Is this guy that with his sinker is gonna eat up a lot of innings, get a lot of ground balls, and kind of really do what you want from your fifth starter, or is he going to be somebody that you just never know what you're going to get with, and maybe more of a product of that Yankee offense for so long? Because as we talked about, his career record is amazing, but what do you think we're going to get out of him?
I mean, obviously, I think you're going to get more than the 4 innings, 4 runs. I mean, it's probably he's still just coming back.
Right.
I mean, I don't think anyone can jump into conclusions on him, but I think kind of get what you said. I think he's going to be an innings guy. He'll eat up. He'll get the 6-7 innings, which obviously
that's what you hope for.
It's essential. You want to get at least 6.
Sure.
I mean, let's be honest. The game was a bad game. I mean, there's not much. Just anytime you give up 7.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you worry
innings.
though. They were sort of talking about it, and I don't know if it's as simple as this, but for somebody with such a dominating one pitch, which with Wong, it's a sinker. If it's not sinking,
true,
you're in for a tough day. So
I mean, you kind of live by it.
Yeah,
but with that being said,
sure.
He's been successful with it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason to think that for whatever reason it's not going to work.
Right.
And I think I heard something with the sinker, it sinks better in the summer or something.
I guess when it's hotter, yeah, something like that.
There's
so many things in baseball that they've figured out and that they know,
like
and
the
that
air,
it changes, and
like I said, the air is something like that. So it's crazy to think that way.
So then I guess the best is yet to come then for Chin-Min Wong
I was right,
as it warms up,
or if
it's the opposite, we're in deep trouble.
Yeah, we're screwed at that point.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it was good to see him out there. I think, I think ultimately Ross Detweiler will be a good long reliever out of the bullpen. The Nats are filling up with lefties in the bullpen now. Calling Mike Gonzalez up today, actually, I believe this morning, gives them a handful of lefties in that bullpen. So I don't know how that's going to work out with Burnett, Scorzolani, Gonzalez now, and Detweiler. So a move in that regard seems to be coming. But that the back three of
it is warm weather.
Warm weather helps the sinker ball.
pitchers.
There you go.
So
there you go. So that's good. So the bullpen though, which we'll get to, I think a little bit later on in the show here, has continued to be outstanding. So that's why we don't have these games really where we're getting blown out. The Nats always have a chance to come through if their offense just could, or is the different story. So now have lost 4 or 5, only 1 win since we last spoke. So I guess the last time Gio Gonzalez actually hadn't pitched Sunday night. So we can even talk about that gem he threw last Sunday night under the lights. But today not as great. So now 30-22, still on top of the NL East. So I mean,
they're tied.
Yeah, I know. And if the Mets actually win tonight, it'll be a 3-way tie for first place.
It's what I think Phillies are in last place, and they're 3.5 games out. It's insane.
I mean, you're actually I know as an O's fan, and it actually does tie in with the Nats because of their upcoming interleague play. But the AL East is the same way.
Yeah,
where
it's tough, and I think Nats fans are obviously finding this out. You kind of can't live and die with each game.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't look at the standings each day because you could be in. I mean, literally, you could go from one day being in first.
Yeah, the Braves
to
did
2 days later being in third or fourth.
Right.
So you can't. You kind of have to. You're not gonna be able to live and die with each game, but it's also going to show that you also can't give games away.
Yeah. No, and I mean each game matters in a division like the one the Nats are in. We'll get to a little bit later on when we talk about. The week ahead, that the Mets plan maybe as good as anybody in the NL East now.
Santana with 134 pitch.
Including a no-hitter with an asterisk from Johan Santana, which we'll get to. But all right, let's then talk about a topic that was brought up on Twitter today. It was rough to see. At times, I've already mentioned about how the offense needs to come through with those big timely hitting, and who else can you trust? Except, if you cannot trust the guys in the middle of your lineup, the guys that are paid the big bucks to get those big hits, for goodness sakes, at least put the ball in play. And, of course, I'm talking about your 3-hole, your 4- and 5-hole hitters. For the last couple of days, it's been Zimmerman, LaRoche, and Morse. Today, the loss to the Braves. I know Wilkes, you let me know they were 0 for 16 combined with 5 strikeouts.
0 for 16 with 5 strikeouts. 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters.
Oh, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay, that
so
makes sense. Sure. Yeah, not good. Not good.
No, not good at all.
The guy I think that is probably struggling the most in that group is actually Ryan Zimmerman. I said that to myself, and now I'm thinking, well, my goodness, Adam LaRoche has been terrible. The one I guess that has the pass in a sense is Michael Morse, because he's only been back now and activated for 2 games. But now, what do you do with Zimmerman? Let's talk about that. He's 3 for his last 21 over the last week, or 7 days, I should say. So, is there ever a time when you take Ryan Zimmerman out of the 3-hole? Somewhere where I wish I had the stat on hand, but I can imagine the number of games that Ryan Zimmerman has not batted third is, I would say, astronomically small.
Yeah, it's probably a handful.
Yeah. So at what point, or is there a point, where you take him out of the 3-hole?
I mean, at some point you have to switch it up. I mean, if he's going to go out there and throw offers up, especially when guys like Harper getting on base in front of him. I mean, Harper's setting the table for him. It's up to guys like Zimmerman, especially what you're paying him.
Right. Well, this sort of goes back to the whole mental psyche of baseball and how it is so tough. But you talk about when Henry Rodriguez was struggling, you needed to wait until the very last moment to make the change from his role as closer. You needed to let him do whatever he could before making that change, because in his mind, I think it would be difficult to make that change and then go back. So is it the same for a hitter? Can Ryan Zimmerman move down in the order, maybe even 5th or 6th, and then if he gets rolling again, is it as simple as, okay, Ryan, now you're back batting third?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a little bit, obviously, we talk about how it's nice to know every day where you're playing.
Yeah, we have mentioned that.
Where you're batting. So
and Ryan knows that and has gotten comfortable with it for so long now. I mean, it would be a change for him to see him bat any lower.
I guess the idea behind, who would you put in his place? I mean, I guess I understand why you would do it for Zimmerman's sake.
Yeah.
But do you gain anything? Do you have an advantage of putting?
Guy, it'd probably be Ian Desmond. At this point, you would probably switch Desmond and Zimmerman. But you know what? Desmond hasn't been great the last couple of nights either. So, you definitely don't put LaRoche in there, who can't hit to save his life right now, and Michael Moore still coming back from his injury. So it's I don't know if you put someone else there, and does that change their psyche? And then when you have to change back, does it change both their psyche? It's a very difficult position, but you are right. Something needs to happen.
Maybe you put a guy like Zimmerman at second, trade him with Bryce. Maybe he'll see pitches. I mean, because right now you said LaRoche not hitting hurts Zimmerman too.
Right. No, and
people are going to they're obviously not scared behind him.
Right, and people are actually pitching away from Bryce Harper to get to Zimmerman right now.
Yeah.
Which is something that nobody saw coming. Especially this early. So, what if Zimmerman goes to Davey and brings it up? Does that change anything? I mean, look, if there's anybody on the roster that you could see that maybe happening, it's Ryan. Well, where he goes to and says, "Hey, Skip, this is I've been struggling. There are a couple other guys that I think could bat third better." A, would that happen? And B, would that change whether or not you think would that change the possibility of a move actually happening?
No, I mean, I can't fathom a guy like Ryan Zimmerman doing that.
Right.
To say, like, I'm struggling, I'm killing us right now. Because frankly, like you said, though, if everyone around him was killing it, and he was the reason.
That's a good point, because if he does it, Adam LaRoche better be right behind him, saying, "Hey, Davey, same thing. Move me down."
Yeah. I mean, at some point,
right. So that
I guess the thing is, what these guys essentially are capable of, in a sense, that you kind of have to live and die by these guys, unfortunately. And like you said, maybe something does need to be done, mix up just a little bit, but it's not. I just don't know if there's like a solution that makes moving Zimmerman to 6 and Desmond a third.
Right.
I mean, do you really want to start?
That I mean, it is such a chess game. It is such a go. Not necessarily with your gut, but what brought you there? Because man, you get to a crunch time, an important game, and Zimmerman's, and the lineup turns back around, and you did make that move, and now you're counting on Ian Desmond in the 3-hole instead of Ryan Zimmerman, and if he doesn't come through, then you start the questions start all over again. So unfortunately, I think you stay put and you hope, and based on his career, Ryan Zimmerman's going to hit the ball better. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But he needs to start doing it soon.
It's as I've said a million times on the show, it's the term reverting to their means.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to imagine a guy like Zimmerman, who's I think he's I have to check his career average, but I think it's like 280, 286. He'll get back up there. Will he get all the way back up to 286 or something? No, but even if he's batting 265, you're better off. You're much better off than he's currently batting like 240.
Right, and then in the middle of a very bad slump. Okay, so right now, panic 1 to 10 with Ryan Zimmerman.
Yeah.
How? What alert are we at here?
6. Probably like 6.5. But
okay, that's pretty high.
If anything, I always probably panic more than I should.
Yeah.
But it's probably not even that high. It's probably something like a 5, really.
Now,
but it's 5. But you're what?
But you're on alert. You're on alert.
Yeah, but it doesn't take a lot. A couple more of these.
Right.
A couple more offers or one hit in 3 game type things.
Yeah. The double play today. I don't know if you saw it I believe it was the 8th inning, when Lombo and Harper both got on base. First, second, no outs. Zimmerman comes up. You don't want anybody else in a pressure situation and 2 guys on than Ryan Zimmerman, who, if nothing else, has proved to be very clutch in his career. Grounds into double play, and then LaRoche flies out, I think, just a couple pitches later, and boom, a chance to not only get back into the game, but probably take the lead there in the bottom of the 8th, squandered because of because of poor timely hitting. So the guy behind him, a couple spots in the lineup. Now, obviously, no need to worry just yet. No panic button ready for Michael Morse, though he is 0 for 8. And my question for any amount of reasons, when do you start to worry about a guy like Michael Morse, given that he had a pretty significant injury, missed a pretty significant amount of time, and we've seen it in many sports, in many cases, all over the world. Sometimes you're just not the same. And the Michael Morse phenomenon is one that also happens a lot. Kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he's already, I believe, 30 years old, 29 or 30 years old.
30.
Didn't do a whole lot. I know. I believe he came up with maybe the Mariners or something like that, and we got him over from that, and became this middle of the lineup power hitter kind of overnight a couple years ago. Had another fantastic year last year when Adam LaRoche went down. This year it was a little bit backwards, or from that when Morse was down, LaRoche was hitting the ball very well to begin the year. Not anymore. But so now, at what point? Again, I'll ask you this: what's your breaking point with Morse, with a guy like Morse, in case, and like I said, it could be for many reasons, he doesn't get back to his old self, to his beast mode, I should say.
A minimum would be like 3 weeks.
Okay.
Where if he's just
that'll put you at 15 games probably?
Yeah, where if...
I'd say you probably got to wait 20 to 25 games.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'd say even a month.
Yeah.
But again, it's things when it's guys like Michael Morse, we talked about, we keep saying phrases like, well, when Morse gets back, well, okay, when he's back, but if he's not, like you said, if he's not the same or he's not doing anything,
and then I think
he knows anything for a monkey wrench.
And he also has to play the role that we need him to play. Michael Morse can bat 300, but if he's just slapping it all over the field, now I don't think he has that in him. But sort of with the Ryan Zimmerman and factor and Adam LaRoche factor, batting where they are in the lineup, we need more from these guys than just base hits. And I mean that's an obvious statement, but when you're guys that are expected not just to get on base but also to produce runs,
exactly,
through the long ball too,
have to produce.
They
runs.
have to do those things, or your team's in trouble.
I mean, having a guy like Zimmerman have 2 home runs and 18 RBIs, the amount of bats he's had, that's
the Nats offense, though it gets knocked sometimes, I think has actually been fine. If you look at the numbers, if you look at the statistics overall, it's actually been pretty good. But that's because on any given night, you have the guys doing what they're supposed to do, and then it seems to always be somebody else steps up on a certain night. Now that happens all over. That's what happens in baseball with lineups. But today, Jesus Flores, another home run. And you just hate to have opportunities like that squandered when somebody other than your main three step up because your main three are playing so poorly.
You win games by those other guys producing on certain nights.
As long as
assuming,
exactly, yeah.
So you're depending on your 3, 4, 5 guys to be consistent, and then you need one other guy,
right?
Like you said, whether it's Flores, a Lombardozzi, any one of that, native for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Chad Tracy was that guy for many games before he went down.
To do something else.
Yeah.
But like you said, when you're 3, 4, 5 guys on hitting,
yeah.
Then a good game by Flores or a good game by Lombardozzi doesn't mean kind of takes away from it because it didn't mean as much.
Are the Nationals missing Jason Worth a lot right now? He seems to almost to be forgotten about. When he broke his wrist, obviously he still wasn't tearing the cover off the ball by any means, but is that just another guy that you at least think that you can rely on and can be moved around the lineup a little bit, and he's one of those guys that could either be one of those guys on the outside that steps up and has a great day, one of those things where if Worth has a good night, that probably means the team's going to win, and then or he could be one of those consistent guys in the 3, 4, and 5 spot. I mean, I just, for some reason, when I think about the struggles, the first thing I thought of actually when I heard about the 0 for 16 today and just watching it over the last week about this middle of the lineup, is Jason Worth would look good, right now. With his approach, with his again, I saw the numbers last year. I watched how bad he was, but
it's just anytime you're struggling. And then there's a guy like, I don't know if Worth is the answer.
But he has the skill set to be someone that you think could certainly help.
Again, if these guys were hitting, no one would care.
Yeah.
You said Jason Worth's kind of been forgotten a little bit.
Yeah.
If Morse was hitting, if Zimmerman was hitting, LaRoche was hitting, then you kind of, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But since they're not, a guy like Worth is, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little funny how baseball works and how quickly things change. Coming into the year, the fear in everyone about how we're going to score runs is the top of the lineup. Right now, Lombardozzi and Harper are 1-2 for a long, long, long time, I think. We are fine there. And now, in just a matter of weeks and a matter of months, it's the middle of the lineup that is really giving us concerns and problems. And God, a team as hot as the Mets coming in, having to go up against the AL East, it's time for these guys to wake up, don't you think?
Yeah, you're gonna have to score.
Yeah.
I mean, the pitching's great, but it's just not gonna. The pitching is gonna come back a little bit back to life, maybe a little bit. So you're gonna need the runs. I mean, they scored. Look at that Atlanta series. They scored 7-8-7. I mean. That wins you ball games.
Over the weekend, though, the second, 4 runs total. 2 runs in each game. In the Marlins series,
you scored
3-1 and 3, 7 runs total.
Won't win that.
Yeah.
Get you swept.
Right, and that's what happened.
And it's and like you said, especially when you're going up against teams like Boston and Toronto, these teams that can mash, they can get a lot of runs quickly. So it's these guys have to show up. If this team wants to do anything this year, you need a guy like Zimmerman or Morse need to come back to life quickly.
Yeah.
Are both of them going to come back?
Right. Well, this conversation actually helps set up the our weekly 3 up 3 down segment, because I'm just going to put those 3 guys in the 3 down. Put them there because they need to step up. LaRoche, I think, has now found himself on the down list probably 3 straight weeks. But he's got to start producing again. He's got to start being that more like the guy he was at the beginning of the year. When he does that and he gets those big hits in the 4 spot, the Nats win ball games, and right now it's a lot more difficult when he's continuing to struggle. Ryan Zimmerman is continuing to struggle. Ryan, the only thing that concerns me a little bit is that he just doesn't look comfortable up there. He doesn't look like he's in a groove, or it actually looks like he's far from being in a groove, if that makes sense. So you're a little worried about these guys. Michael Morse, you're only worried because the rest of the offense is struggling. So you're like, if will it kind of rub off on him, coming in kind of now when he does?
Were fans spoiled with Adam LaRoche?
Earlier in the year?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, again, we talk about going back to his career, what really is Adam LaRoche? It's not as good as he was at the beginning of the year. But having said that, he still needs – I think he's been in a pretty long home run drought. That needs to change. If there was anything that he continued to bring, it was the long ball. And again, the Nats – their home runs have actually a lot come from all around the lineup except for the middle of the lineup. Zimmerman, you said two home runs this season, right? LaRoche, don't know when the last time he's had a home run.
He said one. I think he said one home run. If I'm looking at this right, one home run in his last 14 games.
Yeah, I mean, look, we also know he's not going to bomb. He's not going to hit 40, but he's got to hit more than he's hitting right now for sure.
One out of your cleanup hitter, you're getting one home run.
Yeah.
In 14 games, it's not gonna cut it.
So those guys are all on the down list. Mike Morse, hopefully though, he can easily get himself out by just getting a little bit back to form here. Get that first base hit. I think that'll help kind of shake the cobwebs off, and he should be fine. But let's then talk about the three up. I want to focus on the bullpen, man. I mean the bullpen has been fantastic.
Tell Burnett to put his hat on straight.
Well,
it's incredibly tilting to me.
Whatever's working.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's dealing, but
yeah, whatever's working.
I was watching the game today, and it was tilting me beyond belief.
Well, because at least it's different, right?
Yeah, but I hate when people do stuff like that. Essentially, that disheveled kind of hat thing, because it's he placed it that way,
right?
Like it's like in the mirror before he gets out there. It's like,
are there? I guess there are mirrors in the bullpens, right?
Like he's talking to the guys out there. Gorsalani, hey, is my hat the appropriate tilt? At the proper angle. But I mean, like you said, they kept him. The bullpen has given this chance to win games, and especially a game like today.
Sure.
They kept him in it. I think they gave up 1 hit in 4 innings. I mean, straight dealing today.
Yeah. For the season, Burnett now 16 1/3 innings pitched, has only given up 11 hits, 1 earned run, gives him a 1.04 WHIP and a .55 ERA. So to have a guy like that, a lefty like that in your bullpen, fantastic. Craig Stammen continues to play well. Again, the whole bullpen. Todd Clippard last night got his chance. So the bullpen, especially those two guys are certainly ones that you feel good about. When the starters don't go as long as they should, and when this week comes along with the Mets coming into town, it's the back of our rotation now. They're not seeing Gio and Strasburg. They're going to see the Chin-Min Wongs, the Edwin Jacksons, and the Jordan Zimmermans. So bullpen continues to be a bright spot, which is a very important bright spot, and that's great. Also want to highlight Lombardozzi getting his first career home run today. We already talked about it, I know. And one thing I didn't mention is something that Adam Kilgore tweeted, which was a stat that it's been now over 100 years, I think, where 2 rookies led off a game with back-to-back homers. I know that's getting real technical there, but
it's baseball.
Rookies back-to-back home runs to open a game. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely only in baseball does that stat.
So
does that stat come to life, and that someone has that readily available?
Well, actually, he said it goes back. He went back to before 1900s, and he couldn't find it. So I don't know if that stat was readily available or he did the research, but he couldn't find any.
Where would you even start?
I have no idea
to research that, but no, it's
Yes, so Lombardozzi continues to play well, refuses to have himself get out of the lineup. I mean, I think that's a picture perfect way of he got his shot and he's played so well that Davey has no choice but to keep him in the lineup. So It's not pretty out there. Sometimes it's not pretty for him out there in left field. It's certainly always not always pretty to see Bryce in center. But
I guess this is where I'm at about the Worth thing, is that a guy who replaced him is playing as well as he is. That what would Worth essentially give you? Obviously get you some power numbers.
Right.
That Lombardozzi's not giving you. Because if Worth comes back, Lombardozzi's essentially out of the lineup.
I mean, unless Danny Espinosa's out of the lineup. Because, I mean, remember, Lombardozzi's an infielder. I mean, he's a second baseman. So, or third baseman, whatever. But, you always find a guy like that. Or you always find room for a guy like that. But you're absolutely right. Again, that's a problem at some point that you're going to have when a guy like Worth comes back. But you thought, but we thought we were going to have a problem when Morse came up. It just sort of
like I say, baseball things always seem to
work themselves
where
out.
They work themselves out. Unfortunately, most of the time they work themselves out at someone else's
expense. Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether it's injury or just slump or trade.
Very few times you just have too much talent.
Are you interested? Is it interesting to you, I should say? And it certainly may get to that point, but that there's been absolutely no even whispers about potential trades with the Nationals, whether it's giving guys up or guys or positions that be interested in getting. I mean, is it a little bit too early for the trade deadline to start talking about that? Or
it's probably too early.
Yeah, I mean, I know the way that the Nationals have been built and they will continue to be built is through their system, through their young guys. So keep building them up. I know trading for we've talked about the whole Strasburg thing. We don't need to get back into that about maybe trading for an arm, but it would go against the way Rizzo has built this team to move a couple of these pieces, unless it's for the Gio thing was a little bit different because it was off season, and it's not like Gio's a veteran. I mean, it's not like he's he's in his mid-30s. He's 26, so that was a deal for the future as well.
I guess I don't know what you'd give up to what you would need.
I mean, the Danny Espinosa pops into my head. I mean, would he have interest? John Lannon.
I guess what would you want? I mean, I guess what would you want in return? Like, what would you be looking for? I mean, obviously, this team. The problem is this team isn't hitting, as we talked about. It's inconsistent hitting. But the inconsistent hitting is coming from guys that you're not going to get rid of.
Sure. Oh, of course.
So it's kind of like it doesn't. It'd be different if Espinosa was playing terribly, and then you just need another second baseman.
I guess I only brought that up if somebody like Worth does come back, and he's obviously in our long-term plans as well. You start to look at not only who would you move around, who would you take away, but who's in the long-term plans. If Lombardozzi's part of the long-term plans, we got to find a spot for him. So does that cause a now a need to make a move, or the ability to make a move to find a long-term spot for him?
Okay, I can see what you're saying there. I mean, you could all. With that being said, if you get a guy like Worth back, you could get a guy like LaRoche. Maybe a guy like LaRoche goes.
You move Morse back to first, something like that. Okay.
And
so LaRoche better heat up again so he can be a hot trade chip.
And it's tough for guys like Morse who are coming back from injury in the National League because they have to play the field.
Mm-hmm.
Where it'd be nice.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, those guys out there, they don't look fluid. They don't look comfortable. Bryce Harper will make plays every night because he's so athletic, but it doesn't look quite so natural yet.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a natural. He's a natural at the plate. Not so much in center field right now. Same thing with Morrison Wright.
You want a guy like Morse, like I said, if he's in the American League, you could just stick him at DH for a couple weeks, let him get his legs behind him a little bit.
Which they will probably do in the coming weeks when with interleague play, which we're about to get to. Let's just fly through, man. Let's talk about the next week before we come back and have our next Red Porch Report. We do have a 3-game series against the Mets, though. In D.C., red-hot Mets. Now, like I said, if they win tonight on Sunday Night Baseball, they will have tied with the Nats and the Marlins for first place in the NL East. So just like that, the Mets, somebody who you said on last week's show, I believe, you weren't buying in, but now after that, Johan Santana throws a no-hitter. R.A. Dickey now 8-1, I believe, 9 something like. They're playing good baseball, and this is going to be yet another important week, another important test for the Nationals.
Yeah, I definitely did not buy. I mean, I definitely didn't buy into the Mets at all. But like you said, the pitching's been great. I mean, they've been fairly healthy too.
Should the is a team like the Nats worried about the Mets because they're just playing well, or because they're man, this team's pretty good? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Are they?
Yeah. Are they hot right now, so we're worried, or this team overall is just good, so we need to be worried?
Right, as in and the Nats approach their game plan against the Mets. You know, do they know that they're facing a red hot team right now? Not do they know, but are they attacking them as they are a hot team, or that they are a first place in the NL East type of team? Because it's the mindset can be a little bit important, I think, and I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do the Nats think they're better than the Mets? And are they just saying...
I mean, I know this is going to be cut, but I have to believe that they think they're better than
the other team, obviously. But
everyone
I mean, if you go into... I mean, if the Nats go play the Rangers overall, and they say they're better, I'd say shut up.
Overall, I think they think they're better than the Mets.
Okay. And so...
I think they think the way I was thinking, that the Mets are going to come back. We're going to come back to life.
Somehow, someway, yeah.
That, Johan Santana's arm is going to fall off after throwing 150 pitches.
Yeah.
R.A. Dickey would come back to life, but maybe,
So the pitching matchups aren't ideal for the Nationals. Like I said, they do get the back end. Jordan Zimmerman will go up against, I believe that's Dylan G, correct, who is 4-3.
Yep.
Edwin Jackson on Wednesday, where there's a space right there. But I do believe the Mets have announced, at least unofficially, that it will be Johan back there, even though he did throw 130-some pitches in his no-hitter.
See about that. They said they're going to monitor him in the bullpen this week.
But fresh off his no-hitter, a lot of guys get rocked after a no-hitter. So this could actually be a pretty good time to face Johan Santana. Certainly better than last week, I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. I would be shocked if Johan Santana pitches.
Made that start. So somebody else may step in, but then...
Call up a guy.
But then I guess something that hasn't been talked about, and the jokes will fly. Dickey versus
as soon as you said that, I looked at it. That's pretty funny.
All right, Dickey will face Chin-Min Wong on Wednesday. Hold the jokes, please. Hold the jokes, but in all seriousness,
105 Thursday game.
But in all seriousness, how good has R.A. Dickey been? I mean, that's somebody that you got to worry about. He throws that funky stuff all over the place, makes it difficult for hitters to get comfortable.
8-1, 2.69 ERA, 1.06 WHIP.
So listen, I mean, this is another one of those times and opportunities where you want so bad to say. To feel comfortable and sort of like what I was getting at, say we're the better team, we're going to take 2 of 3 from the Mets, but then you look at how they're playing, you look at the potential pitching matchups. I mean, you're a little worried, right?
He's won 6 in a row, and he hasn't given an earned run in his last 16 innings. He hasn't given up a run in his last 16 innings.
Yeah, so the Nationals, this is going to be a fun test. It's going to be a fun. The Nats did take 2 of 3 from the Mets earlier this year, their first road trip of the year.
His strikeout count, Dickey's, in his last 4 games, 8-11, 10-9. Especially going against a Nats lineup that strikes out a lot. So
yeah, so for that series at least, man, I'm afraid to say that the matchups are actually favoring the Mets, but better teams overcome those matchups. And if the Nats want to prove that they're a better team, they'll take 2 of 3 at home. So they have that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then they fly to Boston for interleague AL East interleague play. Starts a straight. I believe they play every team in the AL East straight through after that.
Yep.
After that,
3 at Boston, 3 at Toronto, 3 at New York.
No, 3.
No,
the Yankees are
3
at
at
home.
Toronto, then 3 at home against New York.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa at home.
Yep.
And then the short ride up to Baltimore.
Camden Yards. So, Wilkes, you don't or aren't afraid to admit, and you make it known that you're an Orioles fan. So I am gonna turn to you for a little bit of AL East perspective, especially the Boston Red Sox, which will finish up the weekend series before we have our next show.
They're playing well.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've won like 5 of their last 6.
Right.
So you're catching a hot Mets team.
And a hot Red Sox team.
Red Sox team.
Interleague play, always a different beast. Obviously, the Nats will get to use their DH. Don't necessarily know how that sets up for their offense, except that Morse will get to DH, which I think is pretty obvious, which is good, and probably move a guy. Man, like,
does that hurt? If you're the Nats, wouldn't you rather have, when you're interleague, you always want it to be? Do they actually?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of the home game because your offense isn't built. The Nats offense isn't built right now to have a DH and to have a consistent, productive guy in their lineup.
If I'm the Nats, interleague at home games are where I want teams coming in with their pitcher.
Yeah.
American League pitchers.
Imagine if it was in DC and we were playing the Red Sox, which has happened, and what do you do with David Ortiz? Do you play him at first?
Yeah, watch him struggle out there.
Yeah,
first.
It's one of those things. So no, I do see what you're saying, and it's the problem is all the NL teams go through that.
You could put a guy like Morse. It's good when teams have problems, like where they have a guy, they're like, but you put a guy like Morse at DH, so then you put Xavier Nadian.
Sure.
I mean, is that?
It's not ideal.
At that point, you might as well just let Edwin Jackson bat for himself.
It's not ideal, but it's definitely something that.
Strasburg can hit homers.
Yeah, Strasburg and Gio, the first two that are going with the Red Sox.
Would you ever let Strasburg
pinch hit
over Nady?
I mean, that it's not possible, but I mean, no, absolutely not. I mean, I've seen pitchers pitch hit before, but not.
If you needed a hit and you had Strasburg and Nady sitting there, would you go with Nady?
100% of the time, 100%. But we talked about how the pitching matchups, unfortunately, if you just look at it on paper, kind of favor the Mets in a way. Though I think the Nats could easily take 2 of 3 or even get the sweep. But man, if you look at the Red Sox series, they're set up beautifully. I mean, you got to travel to Boston. We just talked about having a DH, but you got Strasburg against Felix Dubront. Jabont, how do you say it? Something like that. So,
I think Dubront.
Who is 6-2, but he is going against a 6-1 Steven Strasburg, and then Gio Gonzalez gets Daniel Bard, who has been terrible this year. Is that right?
I think he got
rocked today, right?
He gave up. He survived an inning. An inning and 2/3.
So
runs.
You have to think Gio comes back with another strong effort. After giving up a few runs today, and then Jordan Zimmerman goes on Sunday. So, obviously and it's going to be exciting to see the Nats in that AL East ballpark. It should be cool to see at least. Let Mike Morse DH. Hopefully put some runs up because you're going to need to in the AL East against some of these offenses that feature Adrian Gonzalez. And how is the Red Sox offense? It's obviously they got such a poor start again, but they're rolling now. A couple games over 500, I believe. So is it still a potent offense that you got to worry about?
I mean, yeah. Still Gonzalez is still there. Ortiz is having a great year.
Yeah, he's been doing great.
I think Pedroia's been hurt, but I think he's coming back.
Oh, great.
Red Sox lineup: second in runs, third in batting average, 7th in on base, second in slugging.
So what you're saying is yes. So definitely,
it's their pitching
that's been struggling. So it's going to be an interesting series when the Nats. It'll be strength versus strength, really. I think that's the easiest way to say it. The Nats pitching versus the Red Sox offense. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. Is this one of those series though that you kind of just throw your hands in the air and say, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's that because for me, that's kind of what it is. Going up to Boston, obviously not playing them, very often except for in interleague play, and then going up to the Blue Jays too. The following week, I don't really know what to expect. That's kind of you just hope for a couple wins each series, and that the bats come alive, and kind of take it from there. It's a different feeling. It's almost for me. It's almost like these are exhibition games. I know they all count, unfortunately, but for me, I'd rather be concerned with how we're going to figure out the Phillies and the Braves.
You're always concerned about the teams you see more than.
Yeah, this to me just kind of feels like a show.
I understand
it feels like
a little bit. You don't.
And literally like a show, like a spectacle, that kind of thing.
Well, because like you said, you're playing the Red Sox. It's cool to go up to Fenway, but you don't. Yeah. If you play that against the Red Sox, you're like, whatever. We don't play them.
Yeah, in a sense, it's almost like if the Spurs had to go play like Maccabi, like Tel Aviv or whatever, like some Israeli team or something, and it counted for their games.
Well, if
I know that's probably a stretch, but
if you lose two out of three to the Red Sox, it matters.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it has a different feel to it because it's not teams that you. When it comes down to it, the Red Sox don't determine the Nationals' fate, in a sense.
Correct. Yeah.
It's like you said, it's the Mets, it's the Marlins, it's the Phillies. Those are the teams that Nats fans are worried about. Those are teams that essentially help control the destiny of the.
But
of the
regardless,
season.
Should be six good games of baseball, a hot Mets team, and then you travel up to the spectacle of Fenway. So should be another good week.
What do we need? What do you come out? Ask you every time.
I know down 4 of 5 since last week's show certainly will not work this week. The 6 games, I think you have to go 4-2. You have to figure out a way to go 4-2, especially after losing 4 of 5 in this past week. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if that either of course is 2 of 3 each time, or you somehow sweep a series.
If they go 2-4, and they go out and they're in 4th place by the end of this, does this town are people gonna hit panic mode around here?
No. I mean, I understand, but they'll still look at their record, and even if they do go 2-4, they're what 32-26. I mean, that's a fine position to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so they can get some of this stuff is stuff that they can figure out, but it'll also be interesting to see how they lose these games. They haven't gotten blown out yet. If there's any, a few games here and there, but consistently they haven't gone on a 3 or 4 game losing streak where each game they never had a chance to win.
Well, that's what kills about the hitting.
You don't want to see that. If it happens, maybe panic mode starts to set in. But even if they do go 2-4, this week, and it's the kind of baseball that we've been used to, no need to panic just yet.
Fair enough.
So, another week in the books of the Red Porch Report. You can always follow us on Twitter at Red Porch Report. Also follow us. Also follow the Ball Hogs Radio Twitter at Ball Hogs Radio. Of course, Red Porch Report, part of the Ball Hogs Radio Network, and Ball Hogs Radio is live every Tuesday night, and we're back again on Tuesday. In
case you haven't got enough of these
angelic
voices here, you get to.
We'll be back in the same spot Tuesday night from 7 to 10. So for Kevin and Wilkes, it's the Red Porch Report from Natstown, signing off.
You now